It's open enrollment season, and MediShare is a Christian healthcare sharing ministry that saves most families about $500 a month. Google MediShare and see if it is a fit for you.
7:36 in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Let's get the latest with Jim Telemonte.
Metra is reporting a delay on the Rock Island line this morning due to mechanical problems. We see congestion on the Reagan Tollway eastbound from Eola to before 59. There was a crash there. It cleared. We're still looking at a rather heavy backup. Inbound Kennedy, traffic is slow going from Lake Street into the Burns Circle. The trip time is 23 minutes, O'Hare to downtown. Outbound 20. Inbound Eisenhower, delay start at 25th Avenue. 32 minutes, 390 to downtown. The Stevenson runs 32 minutes, 355 Lakeshore Drive. The Ryan is 22 minutes, 95th to downtown. I-57, 16 minutes, I-80 to the merge. Bishopport, 13 minutes. Lakeshore Drive is okay. That's traffic. I'm Jim Telemonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Sunny to partly cloudy and mild, high 53, increasing clouds, low 37. It's 32 right now at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
From the Matrix Home Solutions studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, and your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Wow, Christmas music. I don't know. How do you feel about Christmas music, Sean?
Still feel like I did when I was a kid, only I can buy my own toys.
Oh, really? See, I'm not in the Christmas spirit this year. I don't even think I'm going to put up a Christmas tree.
It's because you're old.
The thought of it makes me sick.
Because you're old.
No, I'm not old, Sean. I
but
just
yeah.
not. Why are we celebrating Christmas? Because you know what they're going to do? They're going to come out and say, don't see your loved ones. Don't see your family and friends for Christmas.
Yeah, and I'll listen to
Just
them like
they
I did for Thanksgiving. Yeah, and I really listened.
What did you do for
like it was 2019, baby. I give a rip what they say.
Well, what did you do for Thanksgiving?
I went to 4 different houses, at least 20 people in each house. I had an absolutely splendid time.
Really? I changed my plans 3 times.
Not me.
First, I was going to see my mom. Then my mom was going to go to Missouri. Then we were going to go, and then she wasn't. And then we ended up all just staying home and doing our stuff.
I'm a terrible slave. Terrible.
Well,
Absolutely
you
terrible.
didn't you get the COVID?
I probably did, but I'll never get tested. I fought through a little something, but I did it with style. And by the way, I look great doing it.
Well, didn't your family members get COVID?
Yeah, sure. Some of them did. They toughed it out. And here we are, 98.5 of us unscathed. Luckily, everybody in my wife's family and my family all pulled through.
Oh, thank you. So your in-laws are fine, right?
Everybody's good, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my nieces and nephews have had it, my brother-in-law, so...
Yeah. It's good for the chubbies out there. You lose your smell and taste. You really don't feel like eating. You know, if anybody could use a bout of COVID, it's our own governor. Maybe he can wash the private parts if he loses.
Stop it. Well, 'tis the season for giving, and as we here at AM 560 are in the midst of our Food for the Poor campaign. And this year, unlike any other, Food for the Poor is really needed. Places have been devastated by poverty, disease, and natural disaster. And this year, they're helping with this new crisis called COVID. And with that, we welcome back to the program Paul Jacobs from Food for the Poor. Good morning, Paul. How are you?
Good morning. It's great to be with you. I'm great. Thank you.
So tell us what it's been like during this pandemic. You know, there was already a lot of poverty and starvation, and now you have COVID. And how has it changed the landscape?
Well, I'll tell you from a personal perspective, Amy, you've traveled with us. You've seen things on the ground from your own eyes. We were in Guatemala in late January, early February. We saw, and I've been with Food for the Poor now 10 years, and I have seen devastation. I've seen poverty. I've seen the aftermath of hurricanes. I've seen the aftermath of earthquakes. But I have not seen poverty on this level in Guatemala in my 10 years. And we were all looking at each other thinking we have seen the worst of it, but it cannot be this bad. And then mid-March happened. And then we started getting reports in when things were shutting down. Families could not leave their communities because of stay-at-home orders for risk of contagion. There were literally school after school were completely shut down. And the significance of that in places like Guatemala and Central America that these children get their only healthy meal of the day when the parents can afford to send them to school. You see, our children came home, and it's not to diminish what we've been through in our experience, but when we come home, we just sit them in the corner, get their laptop fired up. Here's the refrigerator. Don't eat too much because your mom and dad don't want to keep buying peanut butter, okay? But
Right.
in countries like Guatemala and Honduras and El Salvador, there is none of that. And so we have gotten reports back that now, because of COVID, it has created a food crisis that is now borderline famine. And the World Food Program has even called it a famine, basically of biblical proportions, where literally farms, large and small, were shut down, and many were sent home from work in the informal marketplace. The markets were closed down, so these families had no way to earn an income. And now, since COVID, these families have been completely upended and devastated. And just when the spike was flattening, just when the curve was flattening, another spike and 2 hurricanes that hit 13 days apart, 30 miles apart, that devastated this region.
And we don't know the effects of this until, the smoke is going to be cleared, so
That's
to
right.
speak.
That's exactly
Well, then
right.
aren't there, because I'd heard that people in remote villages are putting a tienen hambre, which means I'm hungry, on a white flag and then putting that outside their huts.
There are white flags, white sheets, whatever they can hang on their doorpost or their shanty hut or their doors that say, "Tenemos hambre, no comida hoy." We have no food today. We are hungry. And that's basically to let passerbys and government officials know that in this house, in this community, there is no food. Please respond, because they can't leave. And so they can only depend on the graciousness and the goodness of a neighbor.
Paul, I want to focus a little bit on the numbers because I'm astonished at how low it is, and you could feed people. Can you go over what are the numbers? Like I remember in the live raid, you can feed a family for how long and how much money?
$185 provides 5 children or a family of 5, 2 meals a day for the next 6 months. And the reason that is happening is because Food for the Poor has great partnerships. We have great efficiencies. We purchase on the open market. We have a lot of our foods donated, so we are only paying for shipping costs to get into country. And then there's the greatest part of all of this. It's the local church, our ministry partners on the ground that are distributing this at great risk and cost to themselves, but they're doing it because they're really saving their own people in their own countries.
You know, Paul, when you see these school programs back here, and like we're in Illinois, I'm not quite sure what state you're from, but when you see the cost of the food programs that's passed on, the amount of food that's thrown out, and you do this so efficiently on such a value, don't you think that it should all be held by people like you when it comes to feeding the poor?
Well, I tell you what, there are a lot of great organizations out there. There's a lot of great things happening all around. But Food for the Poor, for the really going on 39 years, has been doing it as efficiently and effectively as we can. But the greatest part about it is our partnerships on the ground. It's our vetted partners for decades. And we literally, we don't only pray with them. We do what we say we're going to do, and we stay until the job is done.
Well, and I keep thinking about that enormous food shelter or food pantry in Haiti. And they had to shut. People would wait in line for hours to get breakfast and then get a take-home lunch. What happened during COVID?
During COVID, we had to adjust and really shift our operations to create a social distancing and a safe environment for these families to come and get their food. It was shut down for a period of time. Families couldn't leave their community, and we could not set things up. And so what we have turned around and done was we established distribution points in various areas. And then our partners on the ground did the rest of the work, getting to these far-reaching areas that, quite frankly, Food for the Poor, just logistically in a country the size of Tennessee, could not necessarily get to all points.
Now, if you're listening and you'd like to make a donation, the number to call is 844-862-4673. Again, 844-862-4673, or go online to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. And Sean?
Oh, I have a
still
question.
there?
I do have
Okay.
a question. I'm sorry, Paul. I thought we were going to commercial. She has that commercial voice. I was convinced we were going to commercial.
No, we're not done with our conversation.
Paul, when you see what's happening here in America, and I mean, we've got massive, massive record homelessness. It looks like, and nobody knows what the future holds, it looks like we could be hitting a very bumpy economic future. And you see countries in South America that have implemented some changes that kind of have turned themselves around. I'm curious to know, where is your optimism? Do you think it's going to be a brighter future, or do you think you're going to be busier?
Well, it's a combination of both. I think that we are going to be busy because there are systemic issues in countries like Central America and Nicaragua, El Salvador, Honduras, Guatemala. But at the same time, I have great optimism because of the decade-long partnerships that we've had with our ministry partners and with our, those who we work with in country. I have been with Food for the Poor for a decade now, going on my 11th year. I have seen the effectiveness, the efficiency. I've seen the passion of a pastor who lives in the community where he helps, who stays in the community where he helps. He's not coming from some region to help a family. He is literally living blocks, if not a stone's throw away from families that he will bring eggs and he will bring hope to. And so that is what gives me, gives me encouragement each and every day. And I see it time after time in the reports that we get weekly from our country partners, from our ministry partners on the ground. I know that it is happening and it is changing lives.
Now, Paul, I'm going to go in the other room and I'm going to support you financially right now. And I just want to know, what is your policy on bringing back cigars for me?
Oh, God.
As a non-smoker,
Yeah.
you need to stay healthy. And a runner.
You're the guy coughing.
No, I'm laughing. I'm coughing so hard. And as a runner, you should stay healthy. How's that?
Yes. And Paul, I wanted to ask you this. One of our listeners said, why should I help? I hear your commercials all the time. I know that you've been part of this campaign for years.
Yes.
But why help kids in foreign countries such as, the Caribbean, Haiti, and Latin America when we have starving children here in America?
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely. And it's steeped in my own story. Raised by a single father who worked 2 jobs, could not keep the lights on, could not keep the water running. There were months where we went without power, electricity, without running water, hopping the fence at the abandoned house next door to fill up a sink so I could brush my teeth. I've seen it. My father did not take any public assistance, but came... Knocking was Gardens Baptist Church, Pastor Daryl Orman, who came to our rescue. Safety nets are here in the United States. We've seen them in the food lines where families are getting grocery cards. But in these countries, there are no safety nets. It's just you standing between them and starvation. And your help, your gift, your generosity this Christmas season, where you can give a gift that gives life, is what they are desperately in need of.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll have to leave it there. Paul Jacobs, have a wonderful holiday season, and thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you both. God bless you.
God bless. And the number to call again is 844-862-4673, or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. And listen up, if you're a small business owner or if you make the marketing decisions for your company, please consider becoming a business benefactor. What's that? Well, a one-time donation. It's tax deductible. One-time donation of $2,500. The money goes to Food for the Poor. And as a way of saying thank you, we will give you 40 60-second commercials to air right here on AM 560, Monday through Friday, at no additional charge. So you can kick off the marketing for your business and at the same time help feed over 65 children for 6 months. It's a win-win. And we want to thank some of our business benefactors who have already signed up. House of Fireworks in Dyer, Indiana, White Rabbit Home Improvement, Second Amendment Sports, Great Lakes Urban Forestry of Michigan City, Indiana, Decker Inspection Services, DC Export, the list goes on and on. So be one of the cool kids, become a business benefactor. And again, we'll help elevate your business to the next level while you're helping those kids in need. And Paul Jacobs joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Attention maintenance coordinators. If you manage an industrial facility, then you know how critical it is to manage a consistent maintenance staff. During outages, when you're shorthanded, Vans has your back.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. Whether you need one person for 8 hours or a large crew for a month, we can supplement your maintenance team. Our personnel are trained mechanics familiar with all material handling processes. Our expertise extends to fabricating, sheet metal, millwright, and ironwork jobs. Our men can work alongside your repairmen, or we can provide an entire crew complete with equipment depending on your requirements.
Vans uses only the best and safest union-trained mechanics, insured at the highest level, to perform the job right. Call 833-VANS-IND to schedule your maintenance team. That's 833-VANS-IND. Or visit vansindustrial.com. That's vansindustrial.com. Vans Industrial, working safe since 1964.
Sadly, with so many of our kids working in the basement, you can make it a safer place to be. Permaseal Basement Systems can install an egress window and make it happen. In just one day, they can convert that dark, creepy area of your basement into a bright, usable part of your home and make it compliant with today's building codes. Permaseal can convert existing small windows into large emergency exits, or they can install a brand new picture window into a solid wall. All installations come with a drain and a burglar-resistant cover. So get on it for a free, no-obligation estimate on their egress windows. Call one of their certified professionals at Permaseal, 800-421-SEAL, 800-421-SEAL, or visit permaseal.net.
I'm Dan Proft.
And I'm Amy Jacobson. We want to tell you about our 2020 Food for the Poor campaign. Food for the Poor is a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local organizations throughout the Caribbean and Latin America. Folks, these are places that have been devastated by poverty, disease, and this year, Food for the Poor is helping with a new crisis, COVID. As you can imagine, COVID has made a devastating effect on this part of the world. The only thing between these children and their families and starvation is Food for the Poor.
Food for the Poor partners with local ministry and non-governmental organizations on the ground to get food to these families and children.
Food for the Poor needs your help. For a one-time gift of just $185, you can provide 6 months of emergency food relief for 5 hungry children. That's all it takes.
To make that gift, just call 844-862-4673.
Or go to 560theanswer.com and click on the emergency food relief banner. And thank you in advance for your generosity.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
I think this stuff works. I don't seem to have the highs and the lows. You know how sometimes you get real slow and low during the day. And I'm a type A guy, so I go a lot. And I'm more alert, and it seems like I don't seem to feel famished. And it's not very expensive. And the idea of having that freeze-dried or that nutrient in that capsule, and who's going to eat all those vegetables? You know, most of us don't eat right anyway. So whatever the science behind this, I think Balance of Nature is a great idea. And I'm going to probably stay with it.